Hello Physios, I welcome you all to our channel Physio Vidyapeeth. We are back with our next lecture on motor control. Okay, so we have reached up to our fourth theory on motor control, which is system theory. Okay, so my name is Vijay Kumar and let's get started. Okay, so system theory of motor control. It is very simple and easy. Okay, easy to remember theory. Okay, Nicole Bernstein looked at the whole body as a mechanical system. Nicole Bernstein looked at the body as a whole mechanical system. So he considered our body as a mechanical system, and that mechanical system is having some mass which is subjected to external force such as gravity and internal force such as inertia and movement dependent forces. Okay, which is very simple. Then during the course of any movement, the account of force acting on the body changes potential and kinetic energy. So to produce the movement, the force acting on the body changes kinetic energy and potential energy. He thus showed that same central command. So this line is important. So after this, he showed that a same central command can produce different movements. Why? Because there is the change of the force acting on the body changes potential and kinetic energy. See, due to which he showed that the same central command could result in quite different movement because of interplay between external forces and variation in initial condition. Okay, external forces and variation in, this is internal. Okay, this is not initial condition, this is internal. Okay, internal condition, and for the same reason different command could result in same movement. Okay, so in the second point he explained that to produce a particular movement, the force which is acting on the body changes, that is does a interplay, either it is kinetic or potential, and there occur a interplay between these forces, due to which one central command can produce two different movement or its reverse is also possible. Then Bernstein also suggested that control of integrated movement was probably distributed throughout many interacting systems. Okay, so this is very important. Bernstein suggested that integrated movement, any particular movement which was occurring, was distributed throughout various systems, that is various systems work together to produce a particular movement, was working cooperatively to achieve a movement. This gave rise to the concept of distributed model of motor control. Okay, why? Because the production of movement requires various systems, due to which there occur a lot of interaction between these systems, that is the distributed model of motor control. In describing the body as a mechanical system, Bernstein noted that we have many degree of freedom. When he said that our body is a mechanical system, yes, he noted that we have a lot of degree of movement, that is we can do different kind of movement. At elbow I can do flexion, extension, also rotation, that is pronation and supination is also possible. See, noted that we have many degree of freedom that must be controlled. Now when I want to do a particular movement at elbow, I have different degree of freedom. One for flexion, one is flexion, second is extension, then pronation and supination, which is occurring at the forearm. Okay, so here we need to control these degree of freedom, that this degree of freedom must be controlled. For example, we have many joints, all of which flex or extend. Okay, elbow joint can flex and extend, knee joint can flex and extend, hip joint can also flex and extend, shoulder joint can flex and extend. Okay, so like this, and many of these can also be rotated as well. This complicates the movement control incredibly. Why? Because as the degree of freedom increases, For example, at shoulder joint, we can do flexion, extension, abduction, adduction, medial rotation, lateral rotation, and these rotatory movement complicates the movement control incredibly. He said that coordination of movement is the process of mastering the redundant of degree of freedom. Okay, so to produce a particular movement, we need to master its degree of freedom. Only then it is possible to produce a movement, okay, of a moving organism. In other words, it involves converting the body into a controllable system. Yes, lot of movement can occur in body, but what we need is a beautiful and the well controlled and coordinated manner to produce the movement. Okay, so to control the body is the soul of this theory, so that we can control our degree of freedom to produce the movement. Okay, so as a solution to the degree of freedom problem, Bernstein hypothesized. See, now when he explained this thing, that the degree of freedom can be controlled, but some individuals cannot control it. They may have any kind of problem. So now to master the various degree of freedom, it was a kind of problem. Okay, so a solution to the degree of freedom problem, Bernstein hypothesized that hierarchical control exists. Again, the hierarchical theory is given importance here. Hierarchical control exists to control the body's multiple degree of freedom. I explained that the soul of this theory is that we need to have a control over the degree of freedom, and to get the degree of freedom control, there is a hierarchical control. In this way, higher level of nervous system activate the lower level, and lower level activate the synergies or group of muscle which are constrained together as a unit to produce a movement. So to master all the degree of movement at each and every joint, we have a hierarchical control, that is higher level control the lower level, and lower level further activate the muscle group or synergies which act as a unit to produce the movement. So this is about the system theory. Okay, now we are moving on to the clinical implication and limitation of system theory. So now we will study about the clinical implications and limitation of system theory. Okay, so it is the last part of this theory. Okay, so first, clinical implication. As we have already studied that musculoskeletal system and central nervous system both interact with each other to produce the movement according to system theory. So definitely our assessment and treatment should focus on both the things. It suggests that assessment and treatment should examine the musculoskeletal system along with the central nervous system for loss of movement. Okay, so this was the first clinical implication. Then examination and intervention must focus not only on the impairment within the individual system which contribute to the motor control, but to the effect of interacting the impairment along multiple systems. See, this point is very important. I will make you understand in simple words. This is quite tough language. It said that examination and intervention must not focus on the impairment of a particular system only. Okay, so if there is any kind of impairment in an individual, impairment within an individual system which is contributing to the motor control, then our examination and treatment and the intervention should not focus on that part only, but also the effect of interacting impairment among multiple systems. That is, when this problematic system is interacting with various multiple systems, we should also focus on other systems also. Okay, so if there is problem in any one system, we need to also just check out the other system also, either they are well working or not. Okay, so last is the limitation. System theory does not account for the subject interaction with environment. Yes, it do not consider any environmental factor. And last is, it is difficult to relate these theoretical concept with the neuroanatomical structure according to this theory. Why? Because it simply said in few words that various systems interact with each other. Then the question arises that what are those systems, how they are interacting. So these were some lacks or the drawbacks of this theory. Okay, so in our next lecture we will come back with another important theory. So till then, you keep on studying. Thank you to one and all.